Okay, so it's the Women's Royal Rumble, and frankly nobody knows what to expect. We've seen enough iterations of the men's event over the years to steel ourselves for the usual beats and surprises, but the women's version is entirely unbroken ground. I mean, we might want to see a couple of returns, a couple of debuts, a couple of iconic moments, and yes, the inclusion of one particular person, but what's going to happen is anybody's guess. So, and I've given this some considerable thought, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com. Hello, future Adam here. Just want to quickly say that, well, one, I wear that hoodie far too much, and two, we recorded this before the news about Paige's injury, so yeah, enjoy. And these are 10 things that must happen in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Number 10, Bailey. At number 1, it's Bailey because it absolutely has to be Bailey. She's been treading water so badly in 2017 and she needs a way to remind everybody not of her threat as a wrestler, but of her courage and her bravery and her refusal to quit. And absolutely nothing in wrestling gets across the idea of heart quite like an exhausting shift in the Royal Rumble. So Bailey is going to be our Iron Woman. Also, she just deserves to be the first entrant in the first ever Women's Rumble. She was the winning half of the greatest women's match the company have arguably ever put on, and if somebody's going to go down in history, it should be her. She should be the Bret Hart. Number 9, open strong. There's going to be a lot of expectation on this, and sadly a lot of skepticism, so WWE need to ensure they hit all the major beats in the opening stages. 1, give us an unlikely set of adversaries. 2, give us a narrative we can follow. 3, give us a big pop for a return. And 4, give us a classic moment. Now, how I do that is open with Ruby Riott and Bailey, that's point 1. Then have the entire Riott squad in there against Sasha and Bailey, point 2. Then have someone like Beth Phoenix come out to even things up, point 3. And once all the 3 faces eliminate the 3 heels and the crowd are going mental, have them all stare each other down in the ring, just as Asuka's introduced. 4. Go big and do it early. Number 8, NXT. Simply to make the full 30, WWE are going to have to get creative with who's taking part. Their current roster is around 20 deep, and that includes people like Maurice, who's pregnant, the Bellas, who are, air quotes, inactive, and Becky Lynch, who's off filming a movie. So, assuming they don't want to overstuff this with legends and returns, although they definitely need some, they're going to need to turn to NXT. Personally, I'd go with Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Nikki Cross, and Peyton Royce. At the time of recording, we don't know what the women's match at TakeOver will be, but these 4 are a fantastic introduction to Developmental's women's division. Number 7, Santina. Right, okay, yes, I know that is awful. It was awful when they did it, and it would be awful if they did it now, but part of this Rumble is about casting off the shackles of how badly women used to be booked, and there is no better embodiment of that than Santina. Well, maybe Harvina, but let's definitely not do that. I would have him enter the ring and absolutely every woman in there just stops. Have a few people literally about to be eliminated, but they all just stop in disbelief that this is happening and turn to face it. Then, one by one, we get a series of brutal finishes and Santina is thrown, beaten, and battered straight over the top. I am talking The Rock throwing X-Pac out levels of see ya. Now, I know this stuff is best left buried and never brought up again, but really, is it? WWE shouldn't just be able to sweep it all under the carpet and hope we forget. They made awful decisions over their treatment of women in the company, and giving us this visual metaphor for that feels important. Not as important as the match, obviously, but just a really satisfying moment where they bury that part of their history publicly. Number 6, big name returns. On the other side of the return spectrum, the far more palatable side, are the 2 women who absolutely have to be involved in some capacity, namely Trish and Lita. Now, there are lots of candidates for this, notably the aforementioned Beth Phoenix, but think of the pops for Trish and Lita. Everybody loves Trish and Lita. You love Trish and Lita, your parents love Trish and Lita, your dog loves Trish and Lita. I love Trish and Lita. I mean, they debuted when I was 13, so they were an important part of me growing up, let's just say. You can do something with Trish and Mickey. You can have Lita hit the ring and go through all the greatest hits, the Lita Conrana, the Lita Salt, the Twist of Lita, the DD Lita, all the big moves from back in the day. Number 5, separate Absolution and Paige. Okay, so since Paige has returned, she's almost exclusively been in segments where she is the leader of some very mean girls, which is great for Sonya and Mandy and the division as a whole, but we do still need to re-establish her as a singles threat at some point, and the Rumble is an ideal opportunity. I'd have Deville and Rose get 2 big sneak up from behind eliminations just as Paige is coming out in the mid-20s. She can make her way down the ramp, Absolution sit on the ropes to invite her in. It'll look for all the world like the 3 of them are going to dominate together. But then, of course, you have 2 faces throw the pair of them out and invite Paige in themselves. From there, and without her 2 friends, you have her manage a level of dominance all of her own accord, and boom, you've got her as a credible singles threat, and as a result, Absolution looks much stronger as a unit. Number 4. Bailey and Sasha. In all likelihood, Sasha and Bailey aren't going to be in either of the title shakeups going into WrestleMania, meaning that it's the perfect time to pull the trigger on their feud. It could potentially do wonders for both women, and there's no better place to start sowing the seeds than in the Rumble. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but none that will look better on a video package than having Bailey accidentally eliminate Sasha. Have them work together, have Sasha save Bailey time after time, and then have Bailey knock her straight over the rope when trying to eliminate someone else. Sasha leaves in disbelief, Bailey looks distraught, and then, somewhere down the line, the payback. Number 3. Number 27, Ronda Rousey. Because why else are they doing this? It's the biggest secret in wrestling at the minute, and if you're going to get in arguably the most globally recognisable woman in professional sport, no offence Serena, you need the biggest possible platform to debut them on. The final stages of the first ever Women's Royal Rumble is absolutely that platform. The cheer when she appears will be cataclysmic. It's a historic moment for the company, never mind the women's division. I'd have her putting down people in one hit as well. I'd have her pretty much hospitalised Nikki Bella. Like, I'm talking Cena running down to the ring with EMTs and actual tears levels of severe. I would have her look like an absolute monster, and all while she's breaking jaws, Asuka's just staring at her, grinning. Number 2. The Final 4. Realistically, having Rousey, Asuka, Nia and Bailey as our Final 4 leaves about as much room for excitement as possible. I mean, we could maybe swap Paige for Nia, or Charlotte if she manages to drop the belt in time, just so there's some kind of SmackDown representation. Now Bailey, you need to look physically exhausted and go out after some sort of act of heroic defiance on Rousey. Really ramp home that idea of heart and courage. Nia, by contrast, I'd have present a legitimate challenge to Rousey. Get over the idea she's never faced anyone like this in MMA before Asuka gets rid of her with some frankly ludicrous spot. Maybe a flying kick, maybe something like out of Shaolin Soccer or The Matrix or Thundercats. Anyway, that leaves us with number 1, Rousey wins. Now, I know what you're going to say. It's fundamentally bad and wrong to have the first ever Women's Royal Rumble won by someone who played zero part in helping the division get to this stage, by someone who's not even a wrestler. But this is Ronda Rousey. She can't not win it. Instead, what you do is you just lean into it, and you have her as this arriving, all-conquering force who genuinely isn't impressed by the state of women's wrestling, who thinks it's beneath her, who thinks it's still a joke, who turns up the next night on Raw, runs all of the fans down and says she isn't here to be a wrestler. She's here to take the women's title at WrestleMania and then go and defend it in the Octagon. Have her refuse to compete in any match until Mania, and then at the Elimination Chamber, maybe even in the first ever Women's Elimination Chamber match, have Asuka pick up the belt to be the one she has to face, and then have Rousey lose. If they want to build to Rousey as the biggest thing in women's wrestling, then they have to turn her into a wrestler, and the only way they'll do that is if she arrives with the whole MMA gimmick and gets beaten by a wrestler. She's humbled, she adapts, and eventually the crowd will get behind her.
Now, if this all seems a little bit fantasy booking for you, that's because it was originally, but I couldn't get that under 40 minutes. So instead, here is a nice consumable version that I hope you've enjoyed. However, if you would like to see the original, over the top, far too many ideas for its own good, just like Mama used to make version, that's going to be available on WhatCulture Crowd in the coming days, and all of its debatable glory. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you'd like to see in the Women's Royal Rumble by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, I've been Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also there's probably more content floating up above my head, so why not check that out as well? Could be a laugh. Probably. 6 out of 10.